It is that time again to be joined from around the world over here on the Fantasy Walkabout. This is the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast presents the Fantasy Walkabout. I am your host with the most time on his hands here on time today, Thomas Tipple FF, and this is my mate from around the world, Tom Lee, back at it over there in Tomorrowland. Oh man, just was fortunate enough to hop on a little show that you should be looking for tomorrow over there at JYB_FF. They're going to have all the links that you're going to need. I got on there to talk about 3 players that we were either kind of going to buy in on, sell on, maybe avoid. I'm not going to spoil too much because you should be going and listening tomorrow, but definitely go and do that. It was a great time. What a privilege. And speaking of other shows, oh my God. I mean, we got the Brothers of Dynasty podcast, catch me on Sunday. And then we got obviously the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast special edition, special Saturday afternoon edition with the Podfather himself. I mean, lots happening over here on the brand. And of course, you can go and check out fulltiltdynasty.com. Tom Lee, you and I have been doing a position by position true value kind of series to follow our value accumulation project series. I'm looking forward to doing that today, but we're going to do it a little different because look, this is a tight end edition, and we know every argument that can be made for a tight end is exactly the same. Okay, it's either their volume, that you need volume dependent, all you need is a few we get it. So that's not, if that's what you're expecting, you'll be happy to know that's not what you're going to get. We are also previewing what our next project is leading up to kickoff. We're excited to be able to do that. The season is very slowly, but at the same time, very quickly creeping up on us. So we're going to get into that, but I want to kick off with what we like to do, as always, is do we care? Now, this is news that has popped, that has already been talked about to death, and since I'm not into beating horses, let alone dead ones, we're not going to sit on these topics too long. Some of these are a little bit newer than others. So, to kick off, do we care? Carson Wentz is going to miss anywhere from 5 to 12 weeks. That's with Quentin Nelson. That's very vague. I do not care. People say it's going to affect Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, it probably will, but between 5 and 12 weeks is super vague. I'll wait till week 2 or 3 to panic. I do not care. Do you care?
No more than that. 5 to 12 is just a really big range, and it applies to both of them. So Nelson's got the same injury, same surgery. Bigger boy, more weight going to the foot. Really weird to get the same thing, especially because they thought Wentz was an old injury that's been sitting there for a while. It sucks because it was going to be fun to see those flex pieces, especially in the wide receiving core for the Colts, possibly prosper. But we might have to wait a couple of weeks on that and just sort of see where it's at. Like you said, though, not panicking. There's not much you can do with Wentz. He was already a buy low, so you can't really flip him for major value. And JT's still going to ball. He's still who he is. So, it sucks, but people
think that Nelson was the only thing making that offensive line elite. It was not, right? Kelly is a fantastic player, and they've got other players on that line. I think he's going to be fine. He's still going to play. he still gets to play the Texans and the Titans twice.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's going to be fine. And like I said, 5 to 12 weeks is very vague. Moving on. We don't care. Devonta Smith MCL injury. I do not care. I will not be making a BMI. He has no legs joke. Will not go there because most of the people making them don't do leg day anyway.
That's it.
All right. Full of crap. And this one I do care about. Okay. So Rieger is already on that. He's a bust for a year one player that played. I think we were all kind of giving him the well, Carson Wentz kind of sucked. And then he was hurt. So we're giving the benefit of the doubt. Failed his conditioning test. Now, this to me just reeks bust. I don't want to go anywhere near him. Yeah. I do care. It's the final. I don't care. He could put up an 800 yard something season. It would take a real 1,100, 1,200 yards, 6-7 touchdown for me to actually care about Rieger again. It's a real shame for a guy who was very productive. Obviously had the draft capital that you like to see. Do you care? I care about this one. This one I care about.
I care a little bit because he was, like you said, good draft capital, going to get more opportunity this year with more stability around the quarterback position. But I don't know. Like you said, the season's approaching slowly, but also a little quick at the same time. Yeah. And I want to be hearing good things about Rieger, nothing to do with failing anything.
Look, there's only been a handful of guys that have had negative reports in this like narrative street time of the year. And Rieger gets his name added to the list of Denzel Mims and Brashad Perriman.
And that's we talk about this, right? We talk about we only care about coach speak if it backs up
our narrative,
you believe.
Right?
But you do care about if it's negative because there should be nothing negative coming out of camp.
You know? Yeah, this is camp with they're not doing anything.
They don't care.
No, it's just So nail in the coffin. Rieger can get yeeted. For all time now. Baltimore wide receivers. I mean, I don't care. Obviously, I wanted Bateman's the dude.
Yeah.
Everyone else is gonna fall into their role. But I mean I hate the training camp videos and the Lamb going up and catching with one hand. He never caught the damn ball. I get they should be able to do that. They should be athletic freaks of nature, right? At least OBJ came down with it. But with Bateman beating a guy like Humphrey, that is kind of a big deal. And that was McSorley throwing him that ball. Yeah. So, again, we care about it when it fits our narrative. Our narrative is that Bateman is a very good player and will be the alpha there. I think I don't really care about this. I just think it kind of supplants my previous narrative. Watkins will have his job, much like he had, Seth Roberts had a job. And Hollywood Brown will be relegated to his outside deep ball, Deshaun Jackson, boom or bust type guy. I don't care about this. Do you care?
Well, I mean, Hollywood Brown's hamstring is the main thing at the moment to be aware of. So if you're not across that,
I just think he's just going to permanently have problems with his legs.
Yeah, I mean, he's nowhere near a wide receiver 3 for us with rankings, but it's one of those things that if you weren't in on Bateman already, start getting really interested in it.
We could forgive you, but at this point, if you're on the wrong side of history, we'll leave you on the island.
We might even touch on him a little bit later.
Right, and last week, remember the Mooney and the Mooney or Hollywood question that really, really hit us and made us realize that it's
we
not
really
great.
Don't like Hollywood.
Yeah. And I mean, I went hard on an article for Hollywood, really touted them, but once things really clicked into reality after the season, it was, All right, so we're going to talk Kenny Golladay. I don't care about this at all. I mean, I think you might know the Twitter account is DFS Bean Counter. Drew over there, the fake alpha that is Kenny Golladay. I agree. I don't really care about him. If I have him, I was already trying to offload him when he signed for the money. I don't care about this. Hamstring drops. I don't care. Do you care? I don't care.
I care because I've got too much of him. And it's a mistake from last year that just sits on my rosters. But,
dude, I traded for him while he was hurt.
Yeah.
It was not the right thing
again,
to do.
The process made sense, but I don't want to hear anything about him. Like you said, you don't want negative news about the guys that are already trying to turn it around in what is a whatever situation. So hopefully it's nothing bad, but
the offense is going to take a big step forward thing is just completely phooey.
Yeah,
it's hooey talk. It's hooey talk, I tell you.
I just want him to have some value. and actually sit and be playable as a flex each week. But just stay healthy.
I don't think he touches 950 yards this season. Like, I just don't.
I don't.
He's not going to be healthy enough. I don't know. I don't care.
I only care because I've got too much of him.
That's Tyler Carp likes to say, it's failure. It's too much failure. We've had enough failure. I'm done. One season out of Galladay. I don't care. All right, the one I do care about. Well, not the one. I did care about the other one, but I care about this one a lot. I played under coaches like this, and they're the worst. And he has the stigma from coming from, the Patriots background, the, rough and tough, I do it my way, that drove the greatest quarterback of all time out of town because he was over it. This is Joe Judge being an absolute Neanderthal with his players. I mean, I get they had a scuffle and, they're punishing the team because Daniel Jones ended up at the bottom of a pile that had already started to formulate, and he asserted himself in because he has to be the leader. He's part of the team. And you're like the 100-yard sprints and then the lining up for push-ups. This isn't junior varsity. There are NFL veterans on that team, 8, 10, 12 guys that have punched their ticket to the pension and things like that. You're going to lose him if he has, if
he ever had them.
Everything about that camp with Gettleman, now Judge acting like an asshole, and just things not going well, the Benjamin thing and guys signing and retiring. You can read into the narrative and make it whatever you want to make it, but he's on the fast track of get the fuck out of here for sure. And this is going to sound, I think Jason Garrett's going to end up being the next coach of that team. Like, I can see it coming already. Yeah. So, yeah, I care about this. Do you care about this?
No, because I didn't really care about it before. But, it's a massive team, major team in that conference from a name point of view, but it's not from a fantasy point of view.
Defense. Like, they are going to be football relevant. I just don't think they're going to be fantasy relevant. And then we're going to take our time with Saquon and just, I don't know. It's their offensive line didn't really impress. It just, I don't care about this team, but I really do care about their head coach being an absolute Neanderthal dickhead loser. So that was it. That's the news. That's it. That's all we're going to talk about it. We're going to move on. We're done with it. We're yeeting it out of existence. And when we come back, we're going to take a quick second here. When we do come back, we are going to bring back Shits Me to Tears. And Tom Lee will, he'll clue you in on that if you're late to the party, which I'll forgive you for, but not for long. We'll be right back. Okay. This is a fantasy walkabout presented by Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast. Tom Lee, walk us through this week's Shit Me to Tears.
We're back into Shits Me to Tears. Yeah. No, Shits Me to Tears is just something we're seeing out there that, well, as the saying goes, shits us to tears. So things that just make us sit back and go, why the fuck is this happening? What's going on? And this week, for me, it's random shithouse offers that they serve no purpose, right? So if you've had, we've talked about negotiations. We've talked about how to talk to and communicate with people in your leagues, but just sending a absolute, I don't know, just a nightmare of an offer out there for no reason without any talking around it only does yourself a disservice, right? A couple of ones this week, I had someone try to send me a late second or a 23 second for Cortland Sutton, straight up. No conversation, I like this player, he wasn't on the block. It's just, the fuck does that do? That doesn't serve me or you any good, and I don't want to deal with your ass anymore.
That's a fast track to get the fuck out of here is what that is for me. Look, that does bother me. I understand if you're not the type of person to be like, you're going to send you a message like, hey, what do you want for him? I understand people don't like that. People don't always like when you say like, hey, what would you want for this guy? Hey, he's on the block. What are you looking for?
That's fine.
Because it's perceived as you wanting to get a positional advantage in negotiations. If you don't have the cojones of just sending an offer out as a base offer, then you probably aren't going to get a lot of deals done anyway. But if you're sending a deal like that, you send that with a message. You be like, hey,
I'm
don't take
interested in
this.
something.
Don't take it.
Yeah.
We call this the Billy approach, right?
Oh,
The other
God,
co-host, because Billy will deliberately send you a trade that is dog water, but he'll send you a message like, "Hey, that offer sucks, but let's start talking."
Yeah, it's
Let's
like an
start picking it
icebreaker.
apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, that comes from knowing your leagues, knowing your mates. If
Yeah.
you're just sending a 23-second for Cortland Sutton with no explanation, I probably just don't want to talk to you anymore. So that's
Yeah.
going to kill all that, and it's going to leave a bad taste in my mouth. So stop, I guess, shitting other people to tears and start thinking about what it is you're actually doing within the confines of a trade
That's
offer.
it. Yeah.
Because
these
because
things don't go unnoticed. They're a pain in the ass. Just be better.
Like and if you just get a quick decline, like take a minute and assess why you got hit with that quick decline, because there was a fucking reason. So yeah, let's stop doing that, especially with the season coming up. Be better. Look, when we come back, we are going to dive into the tight end position and hopefully help you make a difference with our methodology, our true value, and what is and isn't. And again, we know tight ends are they're so historically boring, and nothing we're gonna say is gonna change that. All we're hoping to do is change the way you approach it, change the way you look at it, and maybe leave yourself open to better opportunity of value at the position. So you don't have to stack 9 of them on your bench and hope that one hits. So hang in there. We're going to be right back. We're going to talk, tight end stuff. Hooray. So if you are not familiar with our term true value, the term value is thrown around in fantasy football very easily. Like it's right up there with grinding and dominating. Upside. Oh my God. We get it. It's value. Great value. This round has so much value. That round has so much value. I'm getting it such a value. We get it. Everyone's a value all the time to everyone, but they're not when you really look at it. So we like to identify the true values. So we're going to try to do that again today. Now, we are using ADP information from DLF, and we do not focus on startup value. We're over startup value. You should be over startup value. I understand startups are still happening, but you've gotten 722,451 examples of what trading back for startup value is. We don't care. What we do care about is your leagues that have existed for a while. The second, third, 4, 5, 10, 12, 15-year-long dynasty leagues that you need to get back on track with. Or maybe you've just been good for so long, you need some fresh blood. Well, we're going to go ahead and do that. Obviously, we talk about everything in tiers. Tight end tiers is real easy. 1, Kelsey. 2, Waller, Kittle, Pitts, in whatever order you want, and then everyone else. So it's the big 4. It used to be the big 3. Now it's at least a big 4. And it's
maybe more for some.
That is what it is. But let's talk about the values in tier 1. Kelsey's ADP of 29. He's the consensus tight end 1. I mean, obviously, he's making into the 3rd round, which is pretty kind of interesting, actually.
It's notable. Yeah,
he used to be an easy round 2 pick even a couple of years ago. Tight end premium, you still kind of see him in that 2nd round, but I can accept him in the 3rd. I think I would do that for sure. Then you got Pitts at ADP 38, which is surprising to me. He's like our dynasty tight end 1, at least mine. Jacobs, I think Billy. Actually, not 100% sure if he is for you or not. I think with Kelsey might still be your 1. I can't remember, honestly. But look, at 38, easy smash for Kyle Pitts. No matter your build, you don't have to go, I'm going to build young. But when you're identifying teams that have existed already, you're looking at Kelsey, you're holding him. Okay, you're not going to get your opportunity to move Kelsey at his max true value in Dynasty was last season, during the season, while he was having the best season of all time. But if you held on to him, you're hoping for more production, another tight end one finish. You've jumped the shark on moving Kelsey, so you're stuck with him. Acquiring him, bad idea. You're going to be charged way up unless you get a reasonable fantasy player, which are few and far between. I'm not giving you Kelsey without a first plus a playable tight end plus a player, and that's a lot. So, although he can be probably like the only difference maker at tight end. So, your true value time frame for Kelsey is probably gone. Whereas Pitts, the people that draft Pitts want like 3 firsts for him, right? I mean, maybe you got him at your 105 rookie pick. Maybe somebody really loves him and got him at the 102 rookie pick. But seeing as how we're not talking about startups, acquiring Pitts in leagues that already exist, you might as well, I don't know. Oh, geez.
Good luck. Yeah.
I don't even know what to compare that to. Like, you might as well grab Nick Cage and go on a treasure hunt. Like, it's not, you're never going to acquire him in Dynasty right now because it just makes no sense to move him if you have him. Either your team was dog water or you smartly acquired draft picks and you got, like, you'll never buy him lower until he already has been a bust. Like, that's the only opportunity you have to acquire him any lower, right? Like, it's just his value is too high. You're not getting a true value on Kyle Pitts, the player I think out of the big four, right? It's pretty obvious to say, like, Kelsey, Pitts, Kittle, Waller. I think it's a pretty consensus top 4 at the tight end position, the super uninspiring tight end position that it is. I think the best true value you're going to get is George Kittle. I'm surprised by looking at this that Waller is the 4th on this list, but I think it's Kittle, who is often injured, unfortunately has Jimmy Garoppolo, has more targets to compete with, but he's easily going to be a top 5 tight end if he plays, and we don't project injuries because we're not sociopaths. But you can get Kittle. I mean, I believe I traded George not that long ago. Oh, my Lanta. I did. It was Javonte a 1st and 2nd for George Kittle, and I took that running. I didn't have to push. I know we don't care about your leagues, Tom. I know you don't care. Okay, but what I'm trying to do is give you a little bit of gravity as to what I wouldn't move Javonte for anyone, but for a contending team that's looking for that boost, you're getting a true value at that. You're not paying 2 firsts in a player like you would for Kelsey. You're not paying 5 firsts, 3 seconds in your first and second born child for Kyle Pitts, right? And you're not paying the 2 first plus price for Waller. Like, you're getting 1 first, a rookie player that's likely sitting on your bench anyway, and then especially if you're trading for Kittle, Javonte better be on your bench. Right? Or you're like movable flexes. So that's a good true value situation. I think he's your one. Let's do a quick rundown on the true value side for you here, Tom Lee.
Yes, I mean, I think the big thing with tight ends is ask not what the position can do for you, but what you can do with the position. That's my approach to tight ends.
I like it.
You do have a school of people out there who think, okay, tight ends, especially the top 4, can be a positional advantage. The only real time that you have the positional advantage, if the rest of your roster is absolutely stocked, then you absolutely can and should move for one of these guys because it will just change your roster. But I'm not starting with a tight end and working my way back unless it's tight end premium. Kelsey, again, like all of these guys, Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, take Pitts and Kittle out because, like you said, they're younger. One's got an injury discount. One you're not going to get unless you sell the house for him. Kelsey and Waller, top end production. If you can flip that for 2 very usable pieces, I'm probably doing that. They all sit within an ADP range of 15 positions. So we're talking just over a round in most of your leagues. So the order of them doesn't really matter to me. It's kind of take your pick and pick your poison. But yeah, Kelsey and Waller for me, their true value lies more on the sell side of things rather than the acquisition side of it, because you can still flip them for good pieces. And if you're getting good usable production out of the pieces you acquire for a tight end and then replacing it with a few of the guys we might talk about later, that's the move for me. As much as I love watching Kelsey and Waller go to work, those points are probably better off somewhere else in the roster.
And that's what best ball's for. You don't have to have them on your dynasty roster
Exactly.
to appreciate watching them go to work. I mean, you want to take out the possibility of having a player in your dynasty roster because you like them, right? Like, obviously you want to have fun, but we're not here to talk about the fun side of it.
You don't want to hate them, but you don't have to love them.
Like, I would never have Tyler Higbee on a dynasty roster because I hate him as a human, because he's garbage and worthless as a human being. But I mean, sure, he had like a good 3 games.
Huge fan of the show, Tyler Higbee.
Yeah, I hope he is. Please listen one day. Dirtbag.
Please ignore that last comment.
Nope, don't ignore it. Just correct yourself. All right, look. That was the big tiers. We obviously know kind of consensus what we're doing on the selling and buying, where your true value is. Kittle is the clear and obvious choice for the true value at tight end. Now I want to talk about a real sticky situation. Last year, this was Mark Andrews, right? And if you listened to the show previously, we told you why we don't want to deal with Mark Andrews, why we want to fade Mark Andrews at this point, now that he has target competition and red zone competition, et cetera, et cetera. And he's just kind of fine at the position.
He's right. Yep.
He's a 10 touchdown guy. That's what you're gonna want from him, right? But the TJ Hawkinson, Noah Fant kind of situation, it's gonna be pricey. Hawkinson's ADP is 59, so you're kind of getting the general sense that tight end 5. You really can't ask for more than that from a guy who's not Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, and in a awful situation like he is. I think that's his ceiling. I don't see him going higher until some of these guys get out of the league, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's the issue for me with Hawkinson is his ADP. We don't talk about the drafts too much, but at 59, we're only talking another round and a half later than Waller. And there's a huge void, as we'll get to when we talk about Fant in a second, to the next guy up. It's not a true value to be taking him in drafts at the end of the 5th round. That's just silly.
Because that's where Andrews is getting drafted. He used to be getting drafted at 5.
That's the pinch point. We don't want anything to do with that.
You can grab yourself a running back. You can grab yourself a quarterback. It's going to hold more value. You're going to get a great wide receiver. Like, if someone were to offer me TJ Hawkinson for Brandon Ayuk right now, I would take Brandon Ayuk. You wouldn't need to put anything on top of that. Right,
no, especially because this isn't tight end premium.
Ayuk's a 7th round pick. All day, easily. So, now I understand people aren't as comfortable yeeting tight end. I understand. I get it. It's cool. Whatever. And that's not even. I'm not even like a super pro Ayuk fantasy player. Yeah. But I understand that there's more value in that position than tight end is when you can get, Dad Bod Ferkser or. Gerald Everett or, Will Dissly for 5 weeks in a season. It just, tight ends that play are acquirable. Hawkinson's not incredibly special to me. I understand he's going to get volume. I don't think he's going to be able to do much with that volume, so I don't care. So if you're in a league and you got him in the rookie draft, you probably didn't take him as high as you would have had to take Pitts this year, but right? Like you wouldn't have had to. I can't remember where he went in rookie drafts.
It's pretty high, yeah.
It's high. You're happy with him if you got him. I wouldn't be reaching out to acquire him unless you truly believe he's the difference maker. I don't think he is. He's not worth it. You're not going to acquire Hawkinson without like a 1st round pick or a player of that value, like a 5th, 6th round player in a startup. Whatever, take your pick. Amari Cooper. Are you trading Amari Cooper, a 5th round wide receiver, for TJ Hawkinson? No, you're not going to do that. You're not going to trade a 1st round pick and Brandon Ayuk. You're not going to trade that kind of. So he's not a true value to me. I don't think he's a true value for you. I don't think he's worth it.
I think there's a situation where you can get a quote unquote true value for Hawkinson there. So we talked before about if your roster's stacked, go and get a big name to create a difference at that position. Hawkinson is more accessible, more acquirable than the top 4. So if you are the clear standout team in your league and you have a 1st spare and someone will give up Hawkinson for a 1st, that's where I'm okay with it. Because your 1st is likely to be late. It's going to be somewhere between 9 and 12, all things being equal. He could be a difference at the position. At the very least, he should be a volume difference at the position to everyone after him.
He's comfortable.
He's comfortable. He's a known value. It's better than, it's kind of like what we wanted Hunter Henry to be last year. We wanted that comfort, big guy over the middle, volume receiver. You could take anyone later for upside. But for a first in a team that is going to do well, just to add something different at tight end, I'm happy to pay that. But otherwise, startup and everything else, take a pass.
Yep. Hawkins is not really a true value at his league. He's a very deceitful value at the end of a fifth round of a startup. Yeah. More for the most part, if you're missing out on those big four, you're not willing to spend on it. You shouldn't be willing to spend a fifth round pick, which is a crucial pick, and you're not trading a player you would have acquired. Like if you're getting Javonte Williams in the fifth round of a startup, but you have. So if this is a fantasy league that's 2 years in, you're not trading Javonte Williams straight up for TJ Hawkinson.
God, no.
Your league would want you as a person to be set on fire.
Unless you are Hawkinson and you've done that trade.
Right.
They're going to question
it. And again, you can say, well, tight end premium. We're not specifying it's tight end premium. That obviously changes it a bit. But my personal strategy doesn't change much with the difference in leagues. And I don't think yours should either. You should approach it the same way. Right? It's just the top end, the Kelsey, Kittle, Waller. And I will say Pitts because I believe in the process. Will give you that league winning difference, but Hawkins is not doing that even in premium. So you're not going to trade, Amari Cooper, a Javonte Williams straight up for TJ Hawkinson. If you are, please let me know. I'd like to talk to you about it. Not to talk down. I just want to understand why. What about it is if you're into volume dependent players, just I don't know, go get Deontay Johnson and live your happy life. Noah Fant. Now, to me, Noah Fant is a true value, and I'll tell you why. Noah Fant's a true value to me because he's being regarded as the tight end 7 in drafts. And if you're a dynasty league in your second, third, and fourth year, you'll never have an easier time acquiring Noah Fant right now. The question's around his quarterback. But look, I know what we're all projecting for Kyle Pitts. I know. We all know. We get it. We hear it.
We're doing it.
Understood. Yeah. We're doing it. We're propping him up, right? I understand. But tight ends do take a while, especially a true tight end. And Noah Fant is a true tight end. But he is an athletic, gifted Greek god of a specimen, and that's a player I want. I want that guy who can catch the ball and run for 65 yards, break 4 tackles, flip you off at the goal line, and then Sparta kick the referee after. I want that guy, and that's a player. And in the 7th round, okay, well, now I'm getting into that Ayuk conversation, right? Ayuk's that 7th round pick. Who else are you getting in the 8th round right now? Tom Lee, like it's
Judy's the standout.
Yeah, 7,
so Judy's
8.
at the 7-8 turn, and that's your comparable piece at the wide receiver position in drafts.
When you're looking at a quarterback, you're probably looking at a Sam Darnold, right? A Derek Carr. Maybe Carr never even makes.
For me, you shouldn't be looking at a quarterback, but yeah,
right. I agree,
but you're right. Yeah, comparable piece. Yeah.
Right. If you're looking at that 7th round, a player you'd go 1 for 1, I would still take Noah Fant because you should have already secured the running backs, the quarterback, the receivers. Yeah. You should be comfortable enough in this situation that maybe you've traded down and you've accumulated more picks. But in a league where it's been around for a couple of years, like we like to focus on, he is a player I'm willing to spend, that 22 first if he's the last missing piece. I'm sure I'll take that. Especially in a tight end premium, I'll take it. If it's not a tight end premium, 2nd round pick and a player, no problem. A player that equals that 7th round pick, right? Because and I'll say this, you always want to be going back and checking your ADPs if you're not doing a bunch of different startups because you're not a sociopath. If you're not doing 100 startups and you're not totally keeping live up to date on your values for players, go and check the ADPs and reestablish value for your players. And if other people in your league aren't doing that, it'd be very easy to tell. You'll be able to sneak some deals out of there. It's worth doing. Even if you think ADP doesn't matter in leagues that have existed for a while, I personally think you're off your meds. should get back on them and join the real world. It's a good starting point on where to value and what to spend, which is why we talk about ADP for leagues that have been around for a while. Okay. Yeah. Hopefully that clears that up. But for me, Fant is a guy I'm willing to trade for, because if I'm just talking about a 7th round pick in a startup, I'm willing to trade that player. I'm willing to trade that Myles Gaskin. I'm willing to trade that, whoever else you're getting in that 7th round. Even Jerry Jeudy, I would consider it for sure, because Judy's probably my 4th, 5th, 6th wide receiver. You're not going to, the tight end production, especially if, they get a quarterback. So is he out of the Fant true value for you, or no?
In draft, still no. And that is just purely my drafting style. Right. I'll either traded back just before this position to try and pick up more wide receiver depth and come out and then have. Yeah.
The answer is trade back for life. We know that.
Yeah, we know this. So I don't have any Fant in Dynasty, just because drafts don't put me in that position. And like I said, I rarely trade up for a tight end. But athletically, he is the guy. If you want to take a risk on someone at that price, he's the guy you do it for. It's not that he's not a true value. It's that for me, if I pick him up, he doesn't have the on-sale value yet secured into him. So you're buying the opportunity. It's kind of like buying Darren Waller like 5 years younger, hoping that the quarterback situation changes, because as soon as it does, you've got yourself a locked and loaded top 5 guy, if you can stay healthy, because he's an amazing athlete. So yeah, for me, not a true value at draft position, but if you go through the league and you ask around and say, where are you at with Fant? What do you want to do with him?
He's a true value.
He's acquirable, and yes, he's a true value outside of the draft for me.
Right. True value outside of drafts is a definite lock, because people are probably either disappointed in him, don't like the situation. You should be going and picking up these Denver assets as fast as you can.
And that's why we use Jerry Jeudy as a comparison, because he's in that same position. Yeah. He had what should have been a very successful season, but we still don't like where he's at.
Still fine. It just, we got spoiled by Justin Jefferson and DK Metcalf the year before.
The direct comparisons was just like,
it's unreal.
What are we doing? Yeah.
Exactly. So Fant, we're checking off as a true value outside of drafts. I think he's worthy of going and spending at his price. Obviously, different leagues, they'll value guys differently. The person that has him might really like him, whatever. Go and check in and see how they doing.
Ask around.
And look, we have anything else that's Ferkser, that's all, the Jonnu, the Hunter Henry, who I just don't want. I just don't want those guys. I don't want them on my roster. However, you do have my favorite late round tight end here. This is a player that I'm rostering as much as possible.
It's the last one. There's only one worth mentioning, right? In this range.
And it's Gerald Everett going as the tight end 20. There's, in my opinion, a healthy Gerald Everett in Seattle does not finish as a tight end 20.
No.
It's not going to happen. Russell Wilson throws a ton of touchdowns. They're not all going to go to the same 2 guys, right? Chris Carson's no way he's going to play the whole season. Like I said, project injuries if it fits your narrative. And Everett is probably a lock for 5, 6, 7 touchdowns, which is going to vault him past that. So you're already acquiring better value, 2 times value, and I think he is a true value. You can probably go and get Gerald Everett for pretty much anything right now. You should be doing so.
Not from us, though. Yeah.
Not from us. Yeah. Right, we're speaking very generally. You're obviously going to have, real keen individuals in your leagues, hopefully, and if not, please kick out the people who aren't. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. Look, he's going to be a player that you have the opportunity to acquire for very little. So Gerald Everett, true value for you, Tom Lee?
Yeah, true value both in startups and outside. Because at this point, if you're shooting a shot in the dark, I want an athletic guy playing with a really good quarterback that scores a lot of touchdowns, who's going to stand out in the field, who doesn't have a lot of competition. And Everett is that. I mean, Disley, those guys are there, but
they could
put, they're on the roster.
They exist in Seattle.
Yeah, but Everett's that guy who they went out and got. They didn't pay him a heap, but they still paid him, and they can move him around the field. We saw it over in LA as well. He's just got good athletic appeal across the board, and Russ likes hitting those guys. So for me, it's worth taking the shot. Yeah.
And the play action game, up the seam, they can use him in reverses. they're going to get crafty, and I don't care really about the rest of the receiving core outside of the top two there, the big dogs. Yeah. So there are targets to go around, and
Absolutely.
he's the best true value in all time frames in Dynasty and startup, not startups. Okay, so that's tight ends are done. We're done with them.
Up.
Yep. There you can call it. That's going to be the meat of what we're the episode here today. When we come back, we're going to take a quick second, catch our breath, regather our brain thoughts. And when we come back, we're going to give you a little preview of what we're working towards leading into kickoff and getting us set. So sit tight. You're not going to want to miss it. I hope. I don't think. Sit tight. Come on back. We'll be back in a second. Okay, so the next couple of weeks, Tom Lee and I, we're going to be doing a true value player from each team, and we're going to determine whether that true player from each team, true value player from each team is worthy of a buy or a sell. We're going to put basically the whole thing together. We're going to pick everyone's favorite discussion or player to discuss. Oh my goodness, Tom, go to bed. Player to discuss and kind of walk through whether we would be buying or selling. Real simple concept, but something real fun to go team by team and do leading into the season. And of course, right before kickoff, we are going to do a little bit on whether you should or how to identify whether or not you are happy or very sad with your roster going into the season, and how to identify what side of the bed you're on the good side or that bad side of the bed. So we're talking about true value players from each team. We're going to go through whether they're a buy or a sell. We're going to start with the A's because we like to do things alphabetically. Yeah, nice and correctly. We're going to start with the QB1 from last season if you're going on a 16-week basis, which I don't think you should be. You should be including the 17th week because you should be projecting for 17 weeks as it is a 17-week season next year. So Kyler in Arizona. That's Kyler Murray, quarterback, number 1, the kid playing quarterback out there. You have it listed as a sell. Why would he be a sell for you?
So this is the key, right? We're talking about players' true value. So true value doesn't necessarily mean that they're a value to buy. And this is what I want to get away from. If we're talking about value in Dynasty, this concept of, they're a value always applies to buying, right? So what we're saying here is that Kyler is an asset that's worth having. Great player, worthy of where he's at, right? He is not a true value in startups. He is not a true value in your team because he's just really good, right? He's a value. He has the most value, in my opinion, at the moment to be selling him because at the moment he is at the highest ceiling. Like you said, QB1 last year. He's young. He runs. He's got an awesome offense. He passes pretty well for the most part. But yeah, I mean, he's sort of topped out. You can't really go past being a QB1 and a first-round startup value.
Yep.
We've said this about quarterbacks for a fair while, and in the episodes we've done, sliding back to get another quarterback who can replicate production and adding a piece is the most simple way to acquire value, especially in Superflex, which is all we deal with. And for me, Kyler has everything. Everyone loves Kyler. He's fun to watch. He's got the value. But for your team, his true value is to get him off your roster because you can replace the production and add a hell of a piece, giving your roster more winning upside, more winning potential. Right. Yeah, more than just like a proper piece, right? It's a first round startup evaluation. So
upside is a no word on this show because we get it. Everyone has upside. God. Okay. I would agree. I think your best course of action. I mean, of course, we always do say you don't have to move a good player.
Yeah, we don't have to dump him for nothing, right?
But you should be putting out feelers across the league. Don't put him on the block because a lot of people think when you're putting him on a block that player is actually attainable, right? Just poke around and see if maybe the teams that don't have strong quarterbacks or maybe they have that like good Kirk Cousins player.
That's it. Right? Go show interest in the other quarterbacks you want to acquire. Right. Pick the guy you think replaces production, and then start having a conversation.
And we don't mean replaces production like you're not going to replace Kyler.
You're going to get the QB1.
Yeah. Right. but replace him in the aggregate while strengthening up another part of your roster, which is where the tier-based trading and drafting comes in handy.
Because how many points a game would you lose from a Kyler, right? If you lost 5 points a game from Kyler, but then added an extra piece on your field where you had nothing.
And plus a pick that you'll get 2 times, 3 times value on draft day.
It just makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense to make sense, if you know what I mean. Look, another player, this one's going to hurt for you.
This hurts, man.
This is tough. But Calvin Ridley's true value in Atlanta is to sell. Because he hasn't been the wide receiver 1, but he's being treated like he's the wide receiver 1. You say yet, I just don't
have to say yet.
Don't think it's going to happen there, dude. He's atrocious with the ball in his hands. And eventually Matt Ryan's going to be gone. He's got a new offense, but people that love him love him. And I don't think there's going to be a time, maybe in season after he has, an 8-catch, 120-yard game. Maybe he scores twice that you can really push him. But maybe he had bad games before that. Maybe he was just meh. So I think you're going to end up moving a wide receiver that finishes somewhere in the 7 to 11 range, which is good. But if you can get a wide receiver,
it's where his value's at. I mean, if you got him last year, you got him at that value. You're happy with it, right? So for me on my rosters, I'm an Atlanta homer, not from there, but you get the point. I'm going to keep him, right? I'm not going to be selling Calvin Ridley, but hopefully it's because my roster's quite good. The issue is, like you said, you're not going to get consistent the wide receiver 1 for him, but you can get that value for him by trading him right now. The guy I wanted to put in this position was Pitts, but like you said, it's just silly. No one's paying a huge amount for him because he hasn't played yet.
Nobody.
But they're also not giving him up because they know what he can be. So as much as I wanted to put a Pitts in there because he's an interesting topic, it just wasn't going to get done. Ridley is one of those guys who is top tier, who you can cash in for multiple assets, which at the wide receiver position is so valuable. Right? There's not many guys you can trade for multiple assets as a wide receiver.
It's an example of knowing your league. So there are players, fantasy players out there like myself or Jacob, who are not high up on Calvin Ridley. If we have Calvin Ridley on our rosters, you're probably going to pry him for less than market value, but still a fair value to us who are the shareholders in that
Both teams can win in that situation, right?
Yes. You're getting a deal and you're getting the player you want that you value that highly while the other player does not. It is a perfect match. It never hurts to go and ask. And that's a reason why you need to be keeping up with ADP. In your experienced dynasty leagues, you need to keep up with ADP so you can check in on guys like Calvin Ridley, who I agree, if you have him, chances are you're holding on to him, right? But you should be poking around and asking if people are keen or interested or how high they have them, what you could pry away. Because again, you can replace in the aggregate. There's more questions than answers there in Atlanta, and I would definitely want to be getting out. Baltimore, bye. Look, we said this before. I mean, if you weren't in on Bateman before, I don't think you deserve to be now, but it's okay.
It's your last chance.
We forgive for now, but you got to get on board. The guy is a stud. He probably slipped in rookie drafts to your 202, 203 in a super flex because, Trey Sermon and Michael Carter got to get drafted at 201 and 202. Crazy. Over a guy like Bateman, who's going to be good for a long time. And if it's the Lamar Jackson doesn't throw or can't throw, or just don't. I mean, let's evolve from that argument. Bateman is a boss. He was a great prospect, good player in college, and has done everything you need him to do through camps and whatever you believe down Narrative Street. I mean, it's the narrative that helps me fall asleep at night. And you can get Bateman, relatively cheap after your rookie drafts right now. So why is he a buy candidate for you?
Well, we look at what we like from prospects, right? We like athletic profile and a guy who balled out in college, tick. We like draft capital, tick. We like team opportunity, massive tick. And we like him to be affordable, right? Which he is, because this year we had a bunch of quarterbacks slide into the top 12 of rookie drafts. And like you said, we had a bunch of fringe running backs who also slid their way, filling out the back end of that first round. So people who got him for a second, all of a sudden, just keep perceiving him as a second. It was really tempting in the Arizona section to put Rondale Moore in the same situation because, again, some production, question marks over health. but he's so affordable because he kept sliding to the second round for people, right? So it's one of those pieces that we know is going to be amazing, but right now has a wide receiver evaluation in the 30s, which we know he's likely to outperform given what he's got. He's in essentially the same situation as Kenny Golladay, but is 8 years younger and is more healthy and more athletic. So why not go out and get that guy for what will be less of a cost than Kenny Golladay?
Yep. And look, I'm willing to put up a 22 first plus for Bateman right now.
22 first is money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy money. You can recoup that in the aggregate down the road when, you know, somebody's slumping or not feeling it, or you can swing one. It's fine. Yeah. And you should be going and buying on Bateman. And again, look, I'm not going to be able to sway you if you're an anti Lamar Jackson as a quarterback gimmick, but he's proven he can put up top, you know, weeks for position players. Mark Andrews was a top 5 tight end, and Hollywood Brown for 6-7 weeks. And I think Hollywood Brown's a mediocre receiver at best, very one-dimensional. Was, you know, he was right up there with the wide receiver 15s, 14s. Now give him an actual alpha with some other receivers there to give him some room and a play action. And man, you should be buying him now. Don't buy him when it's too late. Don't buy that share when it's too late, you know, and Greg Roman's finally gone and, you know, they're throwing the ball with good passing concepts.
Yeah.
Because they throw the ball enough to be, you know, when they're efficient, but the concepts they run are just so horrendous. Go and get shares of Rashad Bateman now. He is the best, and you're right, true value buy on the Baltimore Ravens. And lastly, before we get out of here, it's Buffalo. And this is going to be very similar to me for Arizona. All the same reasons we talked about with Kyler Murray is why you should be kind of poking around your league and asking if they want Josh Allen. Part of that to me is I don't believe that record-breaking career changes are sustainable. He's definitely bound to regress. Not saying he won't be good or a top 5 quarterback, or that I don't have him ranked in the top 5 quarterback in Dynasty. I do, because I'm not a sociopath. But it's what I'm betting on, and I think that his value, again, like you said, you know, how often are you going to be able to ensure that you have a QB1 or a QB2? Anything can happen. Diggs can get hurt. Someone could go down. I don't think you're going to be able to get more for Josh Allen than you could right now. So for kind of the same reasons as Kyler Murray, that's why he's in that situation for me. I'm copping out on that one. Tom Lee?
I think that's the only argument that matters, right? Is I don't want to get into why we don't think Josh Allen can stay at the top. I'm happy to say he is at the top and he's worth that value.
Yes.
It's the same thing for Kyler. I mean, I listened to a clip of some other show talking about how Kyler's more injury prone because he's small and all this sort of shit, right? I don't care. Right? We know he can produce. We know he's good. Every player can get injured. Every player can be healthy or not healthy. I don't care. The key is, here is the current market value. What is their true value? Well, if it's at the top, the true value is always to sell them back, right? In the same way that you trade back within drafts because we know it adds value to the team, we know you should trade back from top-tier assets because remaining at the top is extremely difficult, especially because they play in a sport where injuries are so frequent. You're always trying to dilute down and then reproduce value from the bottom up. So for me, as much as, yes, you're probably correct, career-changing statistical progression is hard to replicate. But it doesn't matter because he's there. You know what I mean? Like, we're not discounting saying he hasn't done it. He's done it. And he has Diggs and he has all this value. That's fantastic. But his value is not to sit on your team and possibly drop. It's already at its all-time high. What if he is the QB1 next year? Cool. Well, let's go and get the QB7 for next year and add the wide receiver 12. You know what I mean? Yeah. Your roster's better with those two pieces than holding on to that one.
Yep. I agree.
So it's just something to explore and keep thinking about going, oh, cool, I've picked the right guy. I've ridden them to the top. What can they be doing for me? Not what are they doing for me?
Exactly.
And that's all we're looking to do here.
And if you're in dynasty leagues that have been around for a while, you either drafted Josh Allen a little, obviously significantly lower than him blowing up last year. Maybe you got lucky. Maybe you just called it, dude. Chances are you didn't, or you got him in rookie drafts and you held on to him, waiting and hoping. And congratulations if you did. Now is the only time I truly believe you'll be able to get the most for Allen. But again, that doesn't mean you have to go and trade every good player. You don't have to go and trade every good player. You can hang on to them. What we're telling you is that you should be poking around the DMs of your league mates. Don't put them on the block. But poke around with your league mates and see if somebody wants to pay that unreal steep price so you can take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Improve your roster, improve your depth of picks, and as you say, replace that quarterback value. That is a little sample, the true value from each player, buy or sell, that Tom Lee and I are going to get into leading up into the season. And as we always like to do, I want to leave with some final thoughts so we all know what that means. So Tom Lee, take it away.
So we're going to get some Aussie slang. All right, we keep doing this every week. I'm sure we'll run out eventually, but we got 2 this week because I had one planned and then pre-show I was talking to you and dropped an accidental one. So we'll go with the accidental one first. So the accidental one first was can't be fucked, right? When you're not willing to put the effort in, you can't be fucked. Right? And now that's a classic Australian. It didn't even register as like this could be one. It just came out so fluently. I was like, oh, we've got to get that in the show. Yeah. So if you're asking to do something, nah, mate, can't be fucked. Right? Nah, mate.
I can't be fucked to reply to bad trades.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love that.
This thing shits me to tears. Nah, can't be fucked.
Yeah. Oh my God, we're gonna have to start building sentence structures to teach people how to
I'm going to give you so much content. But then the second one that I had planned, because I keep getting this one in leagues, right? I'll say, we're talking about something, chatting away and go, oh, too easy, right? I'll say too easy.
One. Yeah.
Too easy, and everyone's like, oh, like, is he taking advantage of me? I'm like, no. Like, this is no worries, too easy. But the one I wanted to bring this week is piece of piss. And piece of piss is just, it's so simple that, no worries, mate, piece of piss, right? It's a dismissive, don't worry about it, it's too easy, I've got it done for you. It just, they were all in the same bracket. What? Don't ask me why it's a piece of piss, I don't know. Because piss easy, right? Piss easy is you guys got piss easy? No, okay. No. So this must be like a couple of references deep, where it started as how easy is it to do something like this? Well, it's piss easy, and then it becomes a piece of piss.
Why is everything piss related over there? Like it's all phallic and piss related. I don't.
Well, and like so you call drinking getting on the piss, right? So, like, it's all everything. It's either drinking related, or it's body function related, or it's just chuck the word fuck in there because we can. But yeah, getting on the piss. If you haven't heard that one, that's also another one.
Oh my God, piece of piss.
That's possibly 4 or 5 for this week. So if you're not across it by now, I want to see more of this in leagues as well. I want to see this starting to get out there and infiltrating the dynasty community, hitting the tweet, hitting the bird app with some of this as well.
So much piss talk. So much
piss talk. Yep.
Oh my God. I love you for it. Never change. Piece of piss. Taking the piss. There's a lot of piss talk over there in Australia. We're getting to a weird place here, but oh my God. I think coming up, we're going to have to start putting sentence structures together, and then we're going to quiz Tom on his Aussie slang and see how accurately I can formulate sentences with some of this stuff.
I have an Aussie section.
we didn't come here to fuck spiders today, and we got through the show. We're happy. Yeah, it's a piece of piss today. We secured our budgie smugglers and really got the job done and hunkered down. So look, that's our show for today. And I always want to say that I appreciate everyone downloading and listening. I mean, we didn't think we would be where we're at right now. And like Absolutely. I said, it couldn't be done. My final thoughts here, kind of always the same thing. Stop being an asshole. Just be kinder to people, right? Like, people are going to have a different opinion than you. Deal with it. If you can't deal with it, get yeeted, right? Just be good people and stop being assholes. That's all I want. Look, as I always like to say, if you liked what you heard today, well, you got to let us know. If you disliked what you heard today, well, you definitely got to let us know. If you think there's a guest that you think deserves to be on the show or think that would gel well with us on this show, well, let us know. We're going to reach out. We're going to try to make that happen. Speaking of which, this Saturday at the Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast, there is no Friday show of the Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast. It's going to be Saturday, this Saturday, the 7th at 12 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Myself, the host with the most time on his hands, Thomas Tipple, FF. My main man, lead analyst over there, Roto Underworld, Jacob Sanderson, FF_RTDB, and creator and programmer over there with the Dynasty Nerds, Big Billy FF, have one heck of a guest. It's the Podfather himself, Fantasy Mansions, coming on to the show. We're going to ask him some questions. We got some special things planned for him, and you kind of never know what you're going to get out of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast crew. I like to not tell these guys what's happening, and I definitely like to surprise the guests. You're not going to want to miss out on another episode of Billy's Stat Corner. We may have a people v FTDP, and I couldn't think of two people better to go toe-to-toe than the Podfather and Jacob. I think it's going to be fantastic. Maybe I'm biased. I don't know. Leave a comment. Head to fulltiltdynasty.com. Go to the forum. Get in on the conversation. Start a conversation. We'll get back to you. Reach out. Let us know. Drop a comment. And obviously, you can go and find all of the other episodes of the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast on fulltiltdynasty.com, Full Tilt Dynasty YouTube, and of course, at the Dynasty Vipers Network. They have a lot of great stuff going on over there. Matt Donnelly has started his own very short show, Viper Bites. It's very, very informative, very entertaining, as most things are over there. That's going to do it for us. And I always like to say the same thing, and that's don't be a dick. But the most important thing that you can remember is that clear eyes, full hearts can never lose. Stay safe, stay happy, and be kind. Ciao, everybody.
Mm-hmm.